speaking of someone that's great for their franchise, Patrick Mahomes. We talked about him a little bit earlier.
Oh,
The baby goat. We have a cool segment that I want to get into. Everyone talks about their goats. Right now, it's Brady for me. I think Brady for you too, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Brady. Okay. Yeah, but just in general, when it comes to Super Bowls, we've seen Mahomes in the Super Bowl. It seems like every year now. So I have a question for you. It's for our segment. We'll do a little. Maybe we can answer a drum roll here or something. But it's a Mount Rushmore of QB Super Bowl performers. So Mount Rushmore, 4 presidents. If you didn't know your history. So I want to get your opinion on who's on your Mount Rushmore solely Super Bowl performances, not career, just Super Bowl performances. So if you want to throw Nick Foles in there, you can. I almost did. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and start off and give me your Mount Rushmore of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks?
Yeah, so I'll start off with saying I almost threw Nick Foles in there as well for that performance. But my
Mm-hmm.
rule that I made for myself is that you have to have more than one. You have to have more than
Oh,
one Super Bowl
interesting.
victory, and so and this is from my top to bottom. Actually, did I may have broken that rule? No, I didn't. I didn't. For my top, this is like top from bottom as well. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Brady, obvious.
Yeah, no
Seven
brainer.
wins, the greatest
Has to
comeback in
be.
NFL history. Speaks for itself. Yeah. Until Mahomes does more than otherwise, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Number two, and this is where you might get a little bit of flack, or I might get a little bit of flack, because I feel like people are going to put Patrick Mahomes there,
Yeah. You
and
should.
I would say
Mm-hmm.
that would be strongly undeserved. I'm
Okay.
gonna put Joe Montana at number two.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
this
He's the only person
little
that
fun
can be
stats for
over
you.
Mahomes.
Montana. Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a close third, or close third and
No.
fourth. But
Right.
Montana beats him in every single category. It's 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes is 3-1. Completion
Yep.
percentage. Montana is 68% compared to Mahomes 66%. Montana threw for 287 yards per game in the Super Bowl. Mahomes threw for an average of 267. And then the big one, Montana, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, compared to
Yeah.
7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. A passer rating of 127.8 for Montana and an 85.2 for Mahomes. Montana clears them in every single important category.
Yeah.
He outside of Brady, he's the best Super Bowl performer of all time at the quarterback position. And honestly, if you look at Mahomes, like he's been outplayed by almost every single quarterback for majority of the game,
Yeah.
and every single one
It's
of his
fair.
Super Bowls. Jimmy Garoppolo
Mm-hmm.
outperformed them, which is sad up
Yeah.
until like the fourth quarter. Um, who else did they play? Tom Brady obviously outperformed him.
Right. Beat him.
Brock Purdy outperformed him for the first 50 to 55 minutes. Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Hurts is the only one where I say I would give it to Mahomes. Jalen Hurts just had the ball longer, and Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts had the fumble that basically ended, like basically the reason why they lost. And so
Yeah.
Mahomes, the reason why he's on there isn't because he's played these amazing Super Bowls. It's that he's had 10-point deficits in every single one of his victories, and it doesn't matter how bad he's performed the entire game. Like for example, for this game, he
Yeah.
was the second best quarterback for 55 minutes, and then he was the best quarterback to ever live for the last 5 to 20 minutes of it. And so that's why I put him as number three, and then number
That's fair. And
four.
I think number three. Before you go to
This
number
was
four.
tough.
Before you go to number four, because those three
Yep.
are obvious. I have those three guys also. Um. Yeah, I'm just curious to see what your fourth is, but it's interesting. I think. Well, I'll let you finish first. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Number four, I'm gonna go Eli Manning.
Oh, okay.
Simply for the I don't have any of the stats. I don't have any of the stats. I could care less. You beat the greatest quarterback to ever live twice, and you stop an undefeated season, be the greatest
Hmm.
team in the history of the NFL, and you got 2 Super Bowls. I'm going with Eli Manning. Also has one of the most memorable plays, although it's not like necessarily a great throw necessarily, but he had one of the most memorable plays, escaping a sack, throwing it to David Tyrese, helmet catch.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm good. The memories that you have with Eli Manning in the Super Bowl are better than none, better than all.
yeah. All right. Well, never mind. I'll take back what I was gonna say because I thought your list was gonna be different. But that's a good list. I
Okay.
like that list. Um, yeah, I like the list. I don't think I really have anything to go against it. Eli Manning is a little bit of a shocker, but like you said, he does have two Super Bowl rings, and he did beat Brady twice.
Mhm.
And there's no denying that. So that's fair. Okay. Into my list, we have a pretty similar list. I didn't do it in order, but I guess I can do it in order. Yeah, Tom Brady's got to be the number one, hands down. Just performances and just quantity, right? As you look at Mahomes, like you were saying, he hasn't had the best performances, but he's won a lot. Brady's had an amazing performance against the Falcons. He's won a lot. He came back with the Bucks, right? He came out of retirement, whatever retirement that was. Won there. Was one with multiple teams. I think he's the only guy on either of our lists that has won with multiple teams. Um, and he was winning like when he was 40, which is just pretty impressive, right? Other than LeBron, like what athlete is winning that late into their career? Um, so
Mhm.
yeah, Brady's got to be number one by a long shot. He's the George Washington, if you want to give him a name for the presidents. My number two here, I actually have Patrick Mahomes as number two. Um,
Mhm.
Montana, I can see your point. I don't know if it needs to be in order, but yeah, I can see your point. Montana is a great player, but I have Mahomes at number two solely for the fear of it. Like Montana, you know he's going to be good.
Yeah.
You know he had a lot of weapons. You know Rice kind of carried some of the games. I think he has an MVP in the Super Bowl.
It's true.
But
It's fair.
yeah, like Mahomes, like even on Sunday, when I was watching the game, I was like Mahomes is going to score. I was texting my brother. I was telling you, I was like Mahomes is going to score. Like they're just going to score. Like you already know he's going to score in overtime, or he's already going to like lead the Chiefs down the field in fourth quarter, right? And it's just like it's inevitable. I think so. I forgot who said it, but someone was like, Mahomes is inevitable, right? He's like the Thanos of the NFL.
Yeah.
That you just know what's going to happen when he has the ball. Um, so yeah, I have him as my number two. Montana is my number three. Very impressive. You got all those stats off the dome. You didn't even look them up. You just remembered from your childhood. But a stat you missed was Montana. He for a while before it was broken by Steve Young had five touchdowns in a game, which is nuts because like especially now,
That's right.
like
Steve
you're
Young
not going
had
to see.
6.
Yeah, he had six, and he's one as a starter. Um, but yeah, Montana had five, which like you can imagine if Mahomes threw five touchdowns. Like how on their nuts they would
God.
be on SportsCenter. So
They
yeah,
would never stop talking about it.
yeah, they would never stop. But
If
yeah. So to
Mahomes
me,
played well, just from start to finish, they'd never stop talking about it.
true, true. But yeah, so that's why Montana's on there for me. Multiple Super Bowl victories, Hall of Fame career, like all the stats that you mentioned, right? No interceptions, which is wild. Especially for the amount of games that he went to. It's one thing to have like one game didn't have an interception. I think Drew Brees doesn't have an interception
Tip
in his
pass,
career,
something.
but yeah, for the amount of times he's thrown the ball, for the amount of times he's been there, it's super impressive to not have interceptions. And then yeah, my fourth is actually I was debating going back and forth. You said Eli Manning. Eli Manning was on there for me, but I think I'm actually gonna go. I mentioned his name. I think I'm gonna go Nick Foles on there.
Nick
I think
Foles,
Nick Foles had
the other person to beat Tom Brady.
the other person that beat Brady. Um, I think he had like just the greatest night of his career at the best time possible. You
Yeah.
know, and just to come into the position he was in, right? Just to beat. I mean, talk about David and Goliath, right? With Purdy and Mahomes, that's even more David and Goliath than that, right? So to be able to come play the game that he did, I think he threw for like 375 yards or something like that, right? Outplayed Brady just for that one night. It was just kind of just. I don't know. It's like one of those movies, like Mike or something like that, where he just gets the skills of like a different player. And yeah, I think just for Super Bowl performances, obviously Nick Foles isn't going to be anywhere near the Hall of Fame or anything like that. Maybe he might if he beats Brady. I don't know. But yeah, I think Nick Foles is up there.
Outside of the 49ers Super Bowls like
Mm-hmm.
losses, that Nick Foles and Eagles victory over the Patriots might have been one of the more painful Super Bowl losses that I've ever had. And so yeah, my ex girlfriend was a huge Eagles fan, and like a week before the game, we broke up, and I just out of this sheer pettiness, I went like full Tom Brady mode, and you freaking let me down. Like the one time
Yeah,
you're gonna lose a Super Bowl is freaking now. So yeah, it was one of the more painful ones. I wasn't involved with the 49ers, so
that sucks because your ex girlfriend's seen 2 Super Bowls and you haven't yet. But it's all right. Yeah, yeah. So I have Nick Foles on there. Eli Manning is he's up there. He's up there, but he's just so goofy. I can't really take him seriously. So Nick Foles is mine. But that's a good list. I want to touch on something though. You didn't mention it, but I just want to add it. When we talked about before the show, your pick was John Elway, and I'm glad you didn't say that because that was
it
a
was,
terrible
yeah.
pick. And when you said that,
It
I was
was.
like,
I
"Oh, you're trying
thought
to be
about it, and
funny."
I was like,
Yeah, you're trying to be funny. Oh, cool. Trying to get some clout.
I
But no, that was a terrible pick. Yeah, I think he has like 8 interceptions or something like
thought
that.
about it later.
Um,
It was
he's
a little
garbage.
rough, actually.
He's
But
garbage.
the two in the one he lost a lot, but he won. I was thinking more like those last two,
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
and so I was
Yeah,
looking at the
there's a lot
last
of guys
two.
you
But
could on
yeah,
there. Peyton Manning should
I thought
probably be on
about it. He's
there.
been there.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
mean,
also glad.
Jimmy, he had like one good one,
Maybe I'm also glad you didn't put
and
Terry
he was
Bradshaw.
carried.
Right, that's true.
Terry
Terry
Bradshaw
Bradshaw.
did. He threw for like 89 yards. One of
Terry
those two.
Bradshaw's the worst quarterback of all time that gets any kind of like positivity.
He
I'm pretty sure he has more interceptions
literally
than
threw for under
touchdowns.
100 yards.
Yeah, he's
That's
atrocious.
atrocious. I mean, it's a different time. It was a different time. It was a
It was a
different time,
different time.
Chris.
It was a different
You
time.
know,
But
they didn't
reading
know
my
how to
list,
throw the football
that's
back
true.
then.
That's true. That was like
It
when
was like
the
actual
league was just white
pigskin.
guys.